There go
Welcome to the
that
Brothers and
jokester.
Influence podcast, where we stand to encourage, inspire, and add value in the areas of life, leadership, and community. My name is Ian Williams. I happen to be your purpose coach, shoulder to shoulder with two amazing brothers. As we get started, let's go ahead and hit the intro. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, calm down, people. Yes, it is August 6th, 2022, episode 23 of season 2 of the Brothers and Influence podcast. Let's go. Come on, man. Let's work a shout. My name is Ian again, Ian Williams, your purpose coach. You can find me across social media at Ian Coaches, because that's what I do. And I'm shoulder to shoulder with two brothers, two amazing men, two men of valor, two husbands, two fathers, two leaders, two difference makers, two change makers. Huh? Come on, somebody run for office. I need somebody real in.
Oh, we thank you guys for coming to the podcast. What else do we have to say?
Oh man,
Put a 20 on that thing.
come on.
I appreciate it. You know, my name is Shante Price. I am your thought coach. And as Ian Williams has said, I am honored and privileged to be. Actually, today I'm in between two great men, right? So I get the best of both worlds up in here. Thank you guys for joining us today, and let's get it. Oh, okay. Don't speak yet.
Hey, this is your boy Sherrod Ledette, your leadership locksmith, the growth coach of Greater Lexington, aka the professor. Listen, it's again one of my biggest joys is always to get on here on Saturdays and just be with my brothers and do what we do. But I have to call my man Ian out though real quick, bro. Hey, that your comment was beautiful. Like me and Sate jumped on. We was like, so where's our boy at? The time goes down and then bam, there he is. Welcome to the Brothers of Influence. We're like, hey, that's the move right there, right? That's the move right there. Yeah. So, but anyhow, man. Yeah. So, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So, what are we doing today, fellas?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, it's episode 23. It's the penultimate episode, right?
That was the last one.
Season 2. Before we kick off season 3. And we don't, no worries, folks. If you've been rocking with us for a while, you're not going to have to wait several months. We're going to get things kicked off pretty quickly with season 3. We got us a new format. We're going to start bringing in different voices, different influencers to kind of speak to us, to share and add value while we facilitate those conversations so that we can all just grow together. I think that we've added a ton of value in the last 2 years, really, doing this podcast, season 1 and season 2. And it's just time to evolve, right? I think that these conversations like we've been having will continue to happen, and maybe if there's a desire for that, we can facilitate a different way to make sure that we include folks in these conversations as far as just the brothers. But I think it's, when we say, brothers and influence, we know that we're not the only people that bring influence. We might be the brothers, but we know that there are people out there that we're connected to and that we should be connected to that can bring a lot of value, a lot of understanding, a lot of wisdom to life, leadership, and community as a journey, from entrepreneurship to career to just personal growth in general, and how we can all learn from one another. So that's the pivot.
Yeah. Is anybody else hearing that? Like, are we talking to somebody on Mars? Like, do we get additional feedback?
Yeah, shout out to the sound quality, man. I'm not sure. I am getting some feedback on my end.
It might be me.
Oh, there's that. Look at it.
It is
cleared up. Yeah, whatever you did, bro. Appreciate that. I thought we was, transmitting to Mars or something. I thought we was going. I'm
on my phone
universal
today.
Got it.
That's all right, man. We mobile.
I forgot my laptop cord, so
Cool.
It don't stop the show. It don't stop the show.
Nah.
that's right.
So fellas, man, you know, we all busy working men. We got businesses, we got careers, we got families. How's things going?
Shoot, man, for me, everything's going right. Like today I'm in the house all by myself right now. My wife and my girls, they left with my mom. They out doing what they do. Right, they went down to some craft thing or something, so they're out. So I have a couple hours to myself. So you know, I'm pretty sure I'll get some things done, but who knows? I might just lay around and not do nothing. You just been running around the house all day. Man, I can just go in this room. One body gonna bother me. Go in this room. You know, lock the dogs in the closet and everything. Well, I was about to say that's the only thing. The dogs are still around, so they follow me everywhere, looking at me silly. But other than that, man, yeah. Like, what we gonna do, man? I don't know, player. What we gonna do? So, but other than that, man, it's been a great, phenomenal week. Because, man, you know, and I think I even made this post on Facebook, man. Sometimes it's just, you know, you just pause and just be thankful and grateful, right? Like, just, you know, I had a couple of great conversations this week. You know, nothing intentional from the perspective of, you know, to share gratitude or to, you know, just, you know, tell somebody about like just their impact or influence. It was just a conversation, but it naturally just came to the end of the conversation of saying like, hey, you know, appreciate you, right? Yeah. Thank you for taking the time, it's just amazing how we can sometimes forget just how a simple phone call, just checking in, or, you know, you was on my mind, let me just reach out, blah, 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 you know, all those different things and how that can make a huge difference. So like this week, man, it's just been a great week of just being grateful just for brothers like you. And then just those other influences and things in my life, man. No deep conversations, just, you know, what's up, what's happening, how you doing, how can I help, right? So I think those are always good. So.
Yes, sir. Connection and gratitude, man. That's what it sounds like to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we all need a break sometime. We know how hard the growth coach of Greater Lexington works, man. we all know how hard he works. So give him a break. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I said I might. I doubt it. I doubt it, man. I doubt it. So
yeah.
Just do me a favor, bro.
Me this week, man.
Minutes, man.
Say it again.
I was saying, Sherrod need to just do me a favor and just take 15.
I was gonna say, me this week. So Aubrey gonna be starting school this year, so I had to go do her, get her registered, and then this week again we got to go back for her orientation. So you know she on 10. So she thought that was going to school. So and she's talking, I gotta go. I'm going back to school next week. Like, you going, but you ain't really going for a minute. But next month you're gonna be going to school every day. So excited about that. I'm probably excited more than hers.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, Junior, he just started first grade this week. So this is first full week of first grade, man. And,
how was it?
It was good. It was good. We feel like we got a solid teacher. You know, we already had to have a conversation about, you know, how you supposed to act. But you know, he wasn't out of pocket, you know, too much. But you know, we had to have a conversation because his teacher hit us up about something that she was not necessarily concerned about, but like she wanted to plant seeds so that we could be addressing something before it became an issue. You know what I'm saying? And so he came home. He was shocked to find out. He said, "Oh, my teacher talks to you." We were like, "Yeah, player."
That's a whole nother perspective for him. He's like, "Oh, wait a minute."
I was like, this is a three-way partnership, bro. This is a three-way partnership between us, her, and you. We all got our part to play to make sure.
Yeah, I would have loved to just see the thoughts in his head at that time. Like, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. That's what's up. Yeah. Shoot, my daughter, she starts. Well, you know, my oldest going back to college to start. Now her junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, Jesus, boy. Yeah, of college though. Junior year of college. Right. And then my youngest, she's going into middle school now, so yeah. Still wrapping my head around all that, right? I've did it before, but still, this is the baby, right? The one that you don't want to grow up, that's growing up anyway, regardless of what you want her to do. But like, let's stay small, please. Nah, play, I ain't doing that. But I need some more money, Daddy. Dang. Really? Dang. So yeah, that's where we're at. So actually, that's what we got going on today too. Is going out and grabbing some supplies and all that good school shopping and all that stuff. They go back to school next week. So, yee. Ready for it?
Yeah, I had went and bought Aubrey some stuff, and I'm thinking buying her some shoes, but they got uniforms, so they buying her shoes for nothing because she got to wear a uniform. So,
so you get lucked out. You get to save some money. Yeah, I get you.
So it's like head to toe uniform. Sometimes they have uniforms, but then they let them pick their own shoes.
No, they got to be black. So,
okay,
shoes got to be black.
So they can be different, but they just got to be black.
Yeah. So
okay.
So I guess I'll take some back, get them black, but that's about it.
Cool, man. So, and I don't know which one of y'all said it. So I want my man Ian. Yeah. So you said it right. Talking about you when the teacher said plant. You know, go ahead and plant some seeds in little man's brains. That's on, hey, bro, this is how I need you to kind of conduct yourself in the classroom.
Yep.
So last week, or the week before, I don't remember. You know, I posted where I went and had to speak on the book I wrote and all that good stuff. But one of the things that the preacher or the minister, pastor of the church had mentioned, he said that. Well, there goes the dogs, right? He said that instead of just seeing the future, we need to seed the future.
Okay.
And when you said that about little man, that immediately popped in my head, right? Because again, I think that's important. You know, even as we just talk about, you know, our family, our kids, and again, the transition as we're getting ready to send them, you know, back to school, right, to get that education, to whatever that looks like as they get prepared to grow and be a part of society and all that things. But I think it's very relevant at this particular point to kind of just even throw that out here in this atmosphere as we're talking through it, that, you know, sometimes seeing the future is one thing, or thinking to have that in or envision the future, but it's another thing to see the future. And I think it's important because I think it allows you not just to envision what you want, but expect what it is that you see, right? By planting that seed. So, you know, yeah, so I just throw that out there. I don't know if that could be a topic of discussion, but that came to my mind when you said that, right? To see the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to everything we stand for, right? Which is, you know, being intentional, right? Leading yourself, right? And that, you know, intentionality can be difficult because when we talk about it, it's like we make it's like making choices on purpose, but like not every 100% of life is lived that way, right? We have moments where we are conscious and we're like, okay, I'm sowing a seed here, and I know, and I'm hoping for a specific outcome. And it's not even, and it's almost like you can't even, because you can't get there. It's interesting because you cannot guarantee specific outcomes. you're hoping to sow something solid, sow something good, sow something wholesome, sow something. It's like, what the scripture talks about, meditate on these things, right? And just it's with a little bit of faith, you believe that's going to reap, right? A wholesome harvest, like a healthy harvest, something on the back end, 9 times out of 10. Because we know when we're not intentional and we sow something that's not healthy or not wholesome, then we know the results are really good. But being human, we're not always sowing the best of the best. We're just doing our best. You know what I'm saying? So, but ultimately, I think that, seeding the future, when I heard you say that, it made me think of, it made me think of like the trust. I'm thinking about my son, that was a withdrawal. Like he had this teacher for the first week. When he heard his teacher hit us up about his behavior issue, that was a withdrawal. You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh snap! I don't know if I can rock with this chick no more, bro. She'll marry me.
See that?
Yeah, boy.
So it's like, okay, so in a week's time, I hope she's, built up enough rapport that it's not putting her in the negative, because he's gonna be in there side-eyeing her all day in school, like
yeah.
I'm watching my P's and Q's around you, but like low key, it's because I ain't rocking with you.
Right. I wonder how he went into the classroom the next day.
Exactly.
Like, you probably went in the classroom like, don't talk to me. Leave me alone. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before he do anything, he's looking around. But I think I like how you kind of highlighted it, but I think, and it steps back into that mindfulness aspect of your vision too, because if you practice mindfulness, it's almost putting you in that arena, like you're saying, you're there, you're in the vision. You're not just talking about this vision or have this idea about this vision. You're there. When you're being mindful of it, you're there because you're mindful of the steps. You're mindful of your responsibility in the process. You're mindful that it's not going to happen without you working the plan. And I think I was thinking about exercising, right? You go in there, you exercise, you're going up in weight, but at the same time, I can never forget why they were telling me that I had to vision myself. I had to see myself doing that heavy weight. I had to. Like you're not, if you just think you're just going to jump on that bench and lift 225 just because you think you can, you're gonna have a broken chest, neck, something, right? But you got to see yourself doing it, and I think that's part of that process of your vision, being able. Because I done seen people, I've always been a little guy, but when I got to lifting 225, it was a lot of people that were bigger than me that couldn't do it. So I think of that the workout aspect came to my mind because you have to see yourself doing it. It's a process. So.
That's real, bro. I think that it kind of ties back to another thing we've talked about, which is alignment. It's all good to have good intentions, right? Unless you're aligning yourself with your journey or your goal, then you're going to continue to get feedback. And then feedback will likely be something contrary to where you want to go. And I think that's kind of what your illustration demonstrated. In fact, I actually ran across something profound. I'll have to follow back up on it because I don't remember who did the study or specifically, but I do remember like what it consisted of. And so they had these 3 groups of people. It was they ran this group random experiment. 3 groups of people. See what it would take to improve free throws. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but if you have, kind of clue me in and maybe you remember who did it. But they had 3 groups of people. And so what they were trying to demonstrate is the importance of imagination. So, okay, What does imagination have to do with making free throws?
Mm.
Well, they had one group, and they had this group practice every day for several hours. They did like 1,500 free throws a day to see how many, for a week's time, to see if they improve on their free throw percentage. They had the second group do no practice at all after they measured their percentage and see if they made any change. The third group, they had them do no practice, not even touch the ball, but they had them visualize shooting the free throw for a week. So they didn't go to the gym, they didn't put gym clothes on, but they had them do some visualization exercises for the same period of time that the other groups were either practicing or not practicing. So they came back and measured the results. The group that practiced the entire week saw a 25% increase in their free throw percentage. The group that did not do anything saw no change. And the third group saw a 23% increase. And the study was just meant to demonstrate how much of a factor your imagination is in your success and your ability, what Shantae was saying, because that's what keyed me in to visualize you following through. Visualize yourself executing, and how powerful the mind can be when it comes to that.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's a good, I need you to find out what that, I like to hear.
You're right.
More on that study. Yeah, that's, you know me. That professor aspect came out of me like, I need to study that a little bit more. But I think it's a great illustration of just, again, this concept of, seeding the future, the visual, and I love it, right? So, me talk over here, taking notes, right? The visualization, alignment, and imagination, right? So these are kind of the key terms we kind of dropped in, we're speaking through. But as you were talking through, that study that you were just talking about, man, like I see that. And I can tell you, for me personally, that visualization has been a portion or a practice for me when I think about seeding my future, and as I'm building my business, as I'm building my personal life or personal journey, as I'm building anything, visualization has become more and more of a practice for me, because literally when I have opportunities to go and speak or teach or anything of that nature, immediately I start visualizing what that looks like, right? I start looking at, okay, I immediately, soon as I get the invitation or I have the conversation or I know this is about to take place, I immediately put myself there at that particular time, doing that specific, whatever it is I was asked to do. And I'm doing that, and I'm watching it, and I'm consistently looking at it, and, just going through that visualization process. And it was funny, I made a post earlier this week, a matter of fact, I think it was Monday, just talking about that, as leaders and entrepreneurs and as business owners, visualization is something that is important, right? And that a lot of successful people use and harness the power of visualization in order to achieve their success, right? Because basically at that particular point, you're harnessing that subconscious aspect, right? And we know that the subconscious mind is so important because our subconscious mind is really that computer, right? It's constantly getting information, and it's processing it, and it's doing all these various different things all day, every day. Like, we're just consistently doing that. But it's not until it goes to the conscious mind that it then becomes an active part of our thinking, right? And I think visualization allows you to bring those components out of that subconscious, right, out of the back part, and bring it to the forefront, right? And it's just amazing how our mindset, mindset now, if we think about this whole visualization, seeing the future, different things, changes when we start practicing this concept, right? Like you said with that study that you were talking about, right? That again, they had people actually going in there and they're shooting their free throws, but then they had the other people just visualize it, right? To sit and see yourself doing it. And that way, when you get in there, like, there's so many different things that come into play when I think about what I visualize when I'm about to do something. I see, I just use me when I get up to go speak. I see my movements, I see my interactions, I see the energy, I see like I have the whole conversation in my mind. And then when I get up there to do it, like I've done it 1,001 times in my mind, right? I'm not saying that I'm not nervous and then I'm not scared or anything like that, but it's I can just go back to what I remember seeing and then I just do that, right? And the outcome is just, the outcome is the outcome, right? Usually it's pretty good. Usually it's pretty good. Yeah. So
I don't got my board. I will hit a button. Hey, but I get it. Like the especially the pictures, when the missus post pictures, I see what you just explained. I see it. Right? You're in your zone because you've been there before. Right? Not you ain't been there because you've taught before, you've been up in front of an audience before. No, you've been there before because you've mentally seen yourself doing that time, not the other 20 times, the time. So the next speaking engagement you got, when you go there, I'll be able to see it whether I'm there or not, because you're focusing on, okay, I'm going to be there. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. Right. And Ian said earlier, he said, so good intentions. He talked about good intentions, and then he brought up the research, right? So when I think about good intentions, and then when you add in bad habits, that tends to equal setbacks, right? Setbacks on your journey. What? Setbacks to success, setbacks in relationships, setbacks in all these aspects of your life, because you have good intentions, but you have bad habits.
Come on, bro.
And that's one of the things we talk about. We teach people or train people how to turn that around, because you need good intentions to fulfill your vision. You need good intention, and you need great habits to be able to change. Because if you continue to do what you've always done, you'll continue to get the same results, right? And so this is a great conversation, especially as we're wrapping up this season, because this is what we're about. This is what Brothers of Influence is about. We're about finding them lost grooves, I like to say. You know how what men tend to do. We go buy a woman goes and buys, a wife goes and buys something, and we just start putting it together. We don't look at the instructions, and then we end up with a screw or two, right? But
those are extras. They always put extras in there.
Exactly, right? Because it works. It works until the thing falls apart, right? Or we find out that we got it upside down. It was supposed to be right side up all the time. But I think that's important. Those lost screws, because oftentimes on our journeys, that's all we need. It's a screw here, a screw there that's missing, that will get us back in alignment and on the right track, and get us so that we're level on we're standing level on our journey.
Yeah, bro. I love it. I love how you brought that all the way back around, because I think that's what I was alluding to earlier. And what I hear when you say that is we're human. But that's why community like this is so important. And one of the many strings that connect us together is our JMT family, right? The JMT alumni. And I know that we haven't been, it's been a while since we've been there in person, or we've never been there in person to one of their events, but one of their themes is stay close to the fire. And why is that? Because it's easy, especially with the nature of the work that we do and really how we're wired. When we go out into the world, what are we doing? We're giving, we're pouring out. Right? And this is really parallel to ministry, and that's why we feel a lot of what we do is ministry. Whether we're speaking at the Chamber of Commerce, or we're speaking at a school, we're speaking in front of a corporation, we're sharing real principles that speak to whole persons, not just professionals with a title, but we're really trying to encourage and build up the people in the room. It's people-centered work. And so we're constantly pouring out. And so because we're constantly pouring out, eventually the flame will start to dwindle. Like And so you have to stay close to the fire and be poured into in order to continue to deliver at a high level. And so, and if that's not a part of your if that's not a part of your strategy in order to keep yourself going and operating at your best, then you're going to struggle. And that's the idea. So stay close to the fire. Because when you start to dwindle, when you get low on fuel, what do? You start to revert to what's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And what's comfortable are old habits, that same thing you've been doing for 20, 30 years, the same way you was thinking for 20, 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's part of being human. And so no matter what, you have to make sure you stay above, like old heads used to say, don't let your car get below 1/4 tank of gas, because then you're going to start, all the sediment that has built up over the years is going to start to get kicked up and run through your engine, and it can mess up your engine. And life is very similar, right? You don't want to let yourself get below a certain level, because once you get between that level, you're going to start kicking up with some of the stuff that's in your foundation. And once you start to digest that mess, it's going to bring out some old habits. You're going to start getting some results that you ain't happy with, which starts a whole other cycle of issues. And so that's why we always say life, leadership, and community. We're come on, man. I'm gonna let the brothers talk to me.
No, man.
Hey, brother, hit that button, man. Hit that button. Hit that button, man.
Which one?
It don't matter. Just hit one.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. I done lost my whole train of thought, bro, because he was killing it. Yeah, he was killing it. Yeah. Like,
go ahead.
I'll jump in real quick. When you were saying that, Ian, what I thought about just with myself, right? The last time I got sick was because I had let everything out. I was exhausted, and it was, and I don't get sick a lot, but I had just gave so much. I was empty, right? And like you said, we can't, period. We can't do that, period. We can't do it in our life, in our relationships. We can't do it at work. We can't do it. And because oftentimes when it does, chaos starts to happen, right? And I was sick to the point where I had to call my doctor, right? And that, it don't happen often, but one thing I do, I recognize it when it happens. So I know that, guess what? This isn't just something I can go buy over the counter. I need to call my doctor. And so part of us being successful or being on our journeys, whatever direction we're going, is being able to recognize us, right? That self-awareness component, recognizing who you are and being able to say, okay, where I'm at right now isn't the place I should be, or it's a place that I've been in the past, and when I'm in these places, nothing good happens. And so the self-awareness, I think that just speaks to the self-awareness component when you're talking about the gas tank being empty or a quarter full, we have to, and we when we think about what we believe in, you know what I'm saying? God fills our cup. But if we're not connected to our source, things happen.
Yeah. So what comes to mind is, we all have default settings. And, even like, I'm trying to even think like, various different technologies or electronics have default settings, right? When things get messed up or you have a setback, right? We have a tendency to want to just reset and go back to the default settings. But sometimes going back to the default settings is detrimental. Because everything that you've done up to that point is now being erased, and everything that you've gained over that time is now being erased. Like, again, like you just think about a microwave, right? This thing comes to mind is that, when it loses power, you got to go back in, you got to set the time, you got to set all these different things. Like when you lose, like all these things go back to their original manufacturing, right? Settings. So, and I think that's what happens usually, even when we have setbacks, right? When we have setbacks, we kind of fall back. But again, we've heard it said, and I think it's always, and it's good. Again, when we think about, seeding the future, having these visualization, alignment, imagination, good intentions, bad habits, and equal in talking about these setbacks, right? Then it comes into the mindset, right? Sometimes the setback is a setup, but it's only when we understand that, again, if I still keep my future or what it is that I'm looking to do in the forefront, if I continue to build on my imagination, if I continue to build my visualization of where it is I'm trying to go, if I continue to align myself and stay next to that fire that keeps me going, and if I continue to align myself with brothers like you and communities that are feeding me, that even when I'm depleted, I'm still getting poured into as I pour out, then the setback is just a setup for me to then move forward, right? But it easier said than done, but the reality of it is that it is very much possible. How do we know this? Because again, that's why we're having this conversation. All three of us have had setback after setback after setback, but yet we're still here. Mm-hmm. And every setback allowed us to, again, take a step back, right? To find out, okay, so what do I do now? Right? We had the ability, hey, Shate, bro, this is where I'm at today. Ian, bro, this is where I'm at today. Mm-hmm. Right? Or I get the call, like, hey, man, what's going on? You didn't sound like yourself today. Right? What's going on? What's good? What's that? Right? So again, staying close to the fire, right? Because at the same time, we can go and go and go and go, and then not realize that we're at a fourth of tank, and then now we're running close to E because we're going and not paying attention to the warning signs, as Shate said, right? You done ran yourself so low that you end up getting sick, and that's just another part of that process. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes when we're going so much, we forget that we have to make sure that we're staying aligned with the things and the principles and the standards and, our self-worth. All those different things are signs and tools that allow us to continue to move forward to whatever that goal is that we visualize for ourselves, right? In order to achieve what it is that we're after. So I think when we look at all these things, like all these different components are a part of it. But even when we have those setbacks, even with our good intentions and those bad habits, setbacks are setups for the next opportunity.
Yeah.
All right, preacher.
So. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think we got to be honest at the onset of this journey and just be like, hey, falling short is a part of the process. We're not always going to get that 100% right? And so, but what we do is we learn from it, right? And that's where that setup comes in. Right? When you can learn from your failures, every loss becomes a lesson. Like I've said that before, right? Mm-hmm. And so, get rid of that unreasonable expectation that I will never fall short. I will fall short. When I do, the defining part of that process is how I respond. Yep. It's the response to failure that defines character, not the failure itself. Yep. Yep. And so, what does it look like for me to get back up? What does it look like for me to learn from this? What does it look like for me to be better? And one of the things that I've talked to my wife about is we want to talk about being 10 years married. I know my brothers, we're various places as far as our marriages are concerned, but like self-awareness. We're always talking about self-awareness, being self-aware, the value of it after 10 years. It's crazy. If we weren't self-aware at this point, bro, we'd be in trouble. we'd have broke up a minute ago. Or if we didn't have the maturity to even discuss it, you know what I mean? In ways that we're striving to grow in that area, because we're not completely like 100%. Like I know me, I know I'm, how to keep myself, but we talk about it in terms of like, my wife comes to me with a concern and she's like, well, this is what usually happens, or this is how I feel in these situations. I'm like, okay, well, if we know this, how can we Her name is Leah. So I say, how can we Leah-proof it? You know, how can I Ian-proof this situation? Because I know this is where I get iffy. This is where I go back to default settings when I'm under pressure here. So how can I set myself up for success? And that's what it's really about. Setting ourselves up for success. And that's the difference that intention can do for you when you are aware. It requires awareness though. Because if you're not aware of who you are, how you're wired, how you operate, how, you know, what your triggers are and things like that, the more of that you know, the better you're able to set yourself up for success.
Man, that was I'll be pushing all type of buttons, boy. But I thank you for sharing that, and especially when you get to the oneness aspect, because a majority of people miss the importance of that on its own, because we live in an individualistic society, and we what's the word, we compartmentalize everything.
All right,
so my marriage,
you about to go to a whole nother place, bro. Come on.
My marriage is over here, my work is over here, these friends are over here, and you know what I'm saying. But when there's a oneness, right, when you gel, right, when you mix in that cake batter, the flour and this to make that cake batter, it's one. All these different ingredients become one, because if they don't become one, you can't throw that batter in the oven and make cake or make cookies or make brownies or and so many people are missing the concept of oneness. There's no other, when there's oneness, there isn't all these other compartments, these closed off doors. We talk about it in our faith. We talk about it. We gotta let God. We want to close off doors in our house from God. It don't work like that. If He's your God, He's your God, right? You know, He sits on the throne. You know, I know we've probably seen the analogies of us sitting on the throne and God standing to the side. It don't work like that, right? When we talk about oneness in our marriages, and it goes back to a process, right? It goes back to that process of what Ian said it again. It's that self-awareness. If it's been 10 years, if we ain't self-aware, we ain't, no matter how good it's going right now, we finna be in a whole bunch of trouble, right? Yeah. Right. This ain't, you know, back in the day, we hear the stories of our grandparents staying together just because and sleeping in other bedrooms, and that wasn't oneness. Let's be real, it wasn't. It worked for the time what it worked for, right? But at the end of the day, if we were able to go back in time and dissect those relationships, we would see that it wasn't what it should have been, right? Wow. Yeah. But and we one of my favorite quotes: "Excuses are lies we tell ourselves." People often made the excuse to stay together for the kids or to stay together for this or that, and they were just miserable for the rest of their lives, right? And it applies to all aspects of life. We've talked about it before with jobs, right? People are unsatisfied with their job, but they're staying because of the money value, right? And I think a couple episodes back, Ian gave an example of a guy he coached, and how, guess what? He's where he wants to be now because he made decisions not based on money value. He made decisions based on the self-awareness of himself and who he is. So that, guess what? He can transition into something he loves, and now he makes 3 or 4 times more money than when he was stuck at a job trying to stay there because of money, right?
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
That's that. And that's that process of life when we get down to the thick of it, right? And that's why, you know, that's why everybody's trying to be coaches and things like that. But everybody's not a great coach, right? Everybody can't dig into the aspects of you. A lot of people dig into the aspects of coaching, but aren't digging into the aspects of you, the individual who needs the coaching. Because as all of us will tell you, when we come into a coaching session, it's not about us. Right? It's not about us, the coach. It's about you, because we can't get down to the thick of what you need until we connect with who you are, and you recognize who you are to be able to get to that next step, next level, where you want to be.
Come on,
man, you guys are laying it down today.
We ain't in this by ourselves. Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good, man. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said earlier, man. This is people-centered work, and the fact of the matter is, we're people too. And so, it's virtually impossible to do this at a high level if we're not doing the work ourselves. And not only doing the work ourselves, but having multiple avenues, having our own coaches, having this group right here where we can speak to each other, talk to these things, and we all bring somewhat of a different perspective. And so, because we bring our three different perspectives together, it's like, one of Sherrod's favorite illustrations is the puzzle. Now we got a bigger picture because we all bring a piece of the puzzle. And so, again, that's the value of that community, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you brought it in, so I'm gonna go with it, right? So
I lobbed it up there.
Yeah, I know you did. I'm gonna catch it. I got you. So yeah, because I was thinking about it earlier. Because again, the reality of it is, it is one big puzzle, right? It's one big puzzle. We're all pieces, right? We're all pieces of someone else's puzzle as well, right? And that's why I think it's so important to understand that when we're talking about these various aspects of, the seeding, the visualization, alignment, imagination, self-awareness, good intentions, bad intentions, setbacks, mindset, like all these are all pieces, right? They're all pieces. But again, the value in all these pieces is that when you place them, right, and you start putting them together where they fit, right, now you can create a greater value by connecting them together so you can see the picture. Because it's all about what you see. It's all about where it is that you're trying to go. I think if we even tie it back to last week's, episode, and I forget what we were talking about, we basically said, so how do we kind of get there, right? And Ian, bro, you talked about it. Like, again, well, where are you trying to go? What is it that you want? What is the results? What's the end game, right? We even quoted, Stephen Covey, right? Start with the end in mind.
Yes,
right?
Sir.
Because again, if we know where we're going, then it's easier for us to then visualize where we're going and then start charting a path,
Mm-hmm.
And again, even when we think about just using what is it, daggone thing to plug it in and
GPS.
GPS, thank you.
GPS.
Right? When you use a GPS, right? GPS is only good when you tell it where you're trying to get to. Otherwise, it's just going to tell you where you are, right? It's only going to tell you where you are. And if you look at the map, it's going to tell you all the different ways you can go, but it can't tell you where to go if it doesn't know where you're trying to go. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we're even talking about, even when we think about this concept of seeding the future. Seeding the future is saying, okay, this is where I want to go. So now let me start talking about where it is I want to. Let me start visualizing. Let me start imagining. Let me start setting. Let me put the good intention. Let me get rid of the bad habits so I don't have the setbacks. But even if I have a setback, I can then set myself up because I know where it is that I'm trying to get to.
Yes, sir.
Right. And those are all just pieces of the bigger picture. Right. It's all pieces of the bigger picture. And here's the thing. Once you complete the puzzle, that puzzle then becomes a piece again of the bigger picture. Right. That's a whole nother concept.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. So it all comes together, man. It's the stuff we've been talking about for the last 2 seasons. We're, like I always say, we're products of the product. We're not trying to sell you nothing that we're not partaking of ourselves. Applying in our daily lives with intention and imperfection, knowing that we don't always get it right, but I think the proof is in the pudding, as they say, right? We're here because this approach to life, leadership, and community is legitimate, and it's made a difference for us. It made a difference in our business. It's made a difference in the opportunities we've been given. The opportunities we've been trusted with. I can't tell you how many times where I've been in situations after kind of growing in these areas where people have where I've been offered opportunities, and I've been like, man, I'm just thankful you thought of me. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I think that's just a reality of this work, of doing the work inwardly so you can express it outwardly. And you know, our mentor John Maxwell says, being what he calls it is being bigger on the inside than you are on the outside, which is his one of his illustrations about character. You know, and you know, I think growing up, I didn't really hear about character a lot. I grew up in church, of course, and you know, there's a certain, I think that what I learned from church culture was how to keep up appearances more than I learned about how to develop my character.
I'm not going to touch that one.
Because I got real good. I got real good at keeping up appearances. But it wasn't until I was probably in my 30s before I learned, like, man, I really need to focus on my character. Who am I?
Yeah, not touching that one.
What sort of impact I want to
We
make?
can do a series on that, keeping up with the Joneses and church edition.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, I think one of the big things too, man, is just being real and living life at the end of the day, right? I often say you can't, like, parents want their kids to do certain things and be certain things in life, but I often say you can't live up to someone else's expectations. And the reason being is that we're all individuals. And I get parents, we want the best for our kids. That's a fact. And it's true. It's heartfelt that we want the best for our kids. But we also have to, at the end of the day, know them, because they're individuals. They're not us, right? And so we have to allow them to develop into them. That doesn't mean we can't train them like we're supposed to, that we can't inform them of the things they should and shouldn't do. But too often we lord it over them. We don't, you know, because I'm the parent, right? And I get it. Don't get me wrong, I get it, especially with today, what kids are doing, how they're doing it. But it would be a whole lot more smoother if we just recognize who they are and work with who they are, and still being able to do all the things as a parent or as a mentor that we want to do to the individuals. Like one of the kids, we had a session where we went to the movies, and so afterwards I asked one of the kids, you know, hey man, you know, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? He said he wanted to be an entrepreneur. I said, but what do you want to do? And he didn't really have an answer. And so I told him, I said, so it's a great idea to want to be an entrepreneur. At the same time, you have to know specifically what you want to do, because you'll never be an entrepreneur if you don't know what you want to be an entrepreneur doing, right? It don't work like that. I just want to be an entrepreneur, because what happens oftentimes, people do that, especially in our community. So they'll open a barbershop. So they'll start doing hair, and there's nothing wrong with any of those things. Don't nobody jump on me now, but you need to have a plan when doing it, because most people know someone that started those type of business and today they're no longer doing it. That's just a fact. And it's not that they weren't good at doing what they were doing. It's just that they didn't have a plan of action to continue doing what they were doing. You know, so I think that's an important aspect of just in general as an individual being able to recognize that who we are and who that individual is that we're connected with.
Yeah, that's a powerful point, man. I want to make sure that doesn't get missed or go over too many heads. I mean, it's like, I know that, especially, you know, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but because we see certain things in our children, and we want certain things for them. You know, we almost enact the sort of control that fights against who they are, which almost inevitably leads to rebellion. You know, I mean, I grew up in the old school. They talked about like rebellion, don't be rebellious. But like, who teaches our parents to work with, to lead our children from where they are? Because we'll go because doing the work that we do, I know all three of us will go up into a corporate meeting and say, hey, you have to lead people from where they are, not from where you are. The same is true. That's a principle, bro. The same is true in our home life. Whether it's a spousal relationship, wife to husband, husband to wife, the same is true for our children. We have to lead them from where they are, bro. We have, and doing anything other than that is just trying to force feed them, is to be and do stuff that we want them to be, as opposed to them reaching their own potential. We'll never tap into their potential trying to lead our children from where we are.
Yeah. So yeah, y'all brothers is I appreciate y'all. So man, that just it's full circle, right? So as we get ready to kind of wrap this thing up, man, like what I hear is, again, seeding the future. Right? So even in what you're saying, Shante, bro, and then what you're saying, Ian, man, it's, when it comes to our children, right, it's all about planting the seeds and then watering them, right? Again, we're going to see their potential. The reality of it is that we always see other people's potential, but it's always a challenge to how to see our own potential. And especially as parents, right, we see the best in our children, so we want to make sure that that's what we're pulling it out of them. We're trying to make sure, but the reality of it is that for us, and I'm just going to even take it and bring it right here. For me, people saw a lot of things in me that I didn't see, that I'm only now recognizing and realizing, and I'm only now walking into and touching. And there's even still times where I don't even believe some of the things that I now see myself doing. But the seed was planted, right? The seed was planted, and the seed has to be nurtured, and it has to be watered, and it has to be taken care of, and it has to be, it needs all those different things in order for it to take root, because the seed then takes root first before it then comes up, right? And I think when we think about, again, as you guys are saying, like, we have to see the future. And when it comes to our children, man, we just have to plant the seeds. Like, raise a child in a way, right? And they will not stray from that path. And the reality of it is that I know I am who I am is because of a lot of the seeds that my parents sowed. Now, all of them didn't come the way that they thought they would, like, and I'm not even sure all the seeds that they sowed. I know that, I don't know if they're still waiting on them bad boys to take root and plant or whatever, but I know my parents sowed seeds, right? And they're still sowing seeds. And I know my mom is watering those seeds with prayer every day. Like, I hope this boy get himself together.
Yeah, I hear you.
Right. Yeah. Right. But the reality of it is that for as we think about the future and seeding the future, the only thing that we can do is do our best. Right. And then planting the seeds, watering the seeds, and hoping that they take root, especially when it comes to our children. So yeah, I mean, that's real. I mean, I just want to give y'all something to chew on as we wrap up. This is the Brothers Influence podcast, where we stand to encourage, inspire, and add value in the areas of life, leadership, and community. I was as we close, I was thinking about my son, right? He's 6 years old, about to turn 7 in October. One of the things that we've been working on for a couple of years now, really, because he got his first bike that he was trying to ride on during 2020. He's trying to get this boy to ride his bike without, to learn how to ride his bike. So it's one thing to even get him out there to do it. You got to bro, this is going to be one of the most greatest things you ever experienced in your life. Once you can ride your own bike, man. Like, I'm trying to coach him up, and we get out. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go out there and put my helmet on, but we're gonna give it a shot. Okay, that's one thing to get him there. Then it's a whole other thing
to get him to understand, like, you have everything you need to do this. Bruh, the way you kick in your sleep, you can push these pedals, bruh. I'm like, push the pedals. And you know, he's pushing them pedals and they moving slow. I'm like, man, you got to push them hard. Push them hard. Your legs are strong. You know, you up here, you playing basketball, you running soccer, you getting rebounds, bro. Your legs are strong. Push the pedals. But it's one thing for me to see it, and it's a whole different thing for him to see it. And because he doesn't see it, I have to lead him from there as opposed to from where I see what I believe he's capable of. Yeah. And if I'm not careful, what ends up happening is I push him too hard and too fast, and it's a breakdown. Not only there's a breakdown, it's a breakdown in communication, it's probably a break in trust. I trusted you to bring me out here. You told me I could do the thing, but you're not working with me. You're working with some vision of me that you have in your head. Mm-hmm. I hope that's a simple enough illustration. But again, this is Brothers and Influence Podcast. We're going a couple minutes over, so brothers, y'all got anything else to say? We can give the deuces if not.
Yeah, my last thing I'm gonna say, bro, is I think you summed it up right with that illustration. Is the reality of it is we all have what it is we need to succeed and get whatever it is that we're looking for, right? Mm-hmm. So just believe in it, trust in it, right? And just make sure that again, you know, you go after it, right? With everything you got. So you have it, use it.
If you've been rocking with us, we appreciate your support. Ask for your prayers on our journeys. When we come back for season 3, there'll be an addition to the family. You know what I'm saying? You know, just we appreciate, honestly, we appreciate you. Any feedback you have, you know, anything you're interested in us to touch on further, just let us know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Episode 23, August 6, 2022. This is the close of season 2. We will be back for season 3. We love y'all. Peace.
Hello.